Hi guys, welcome back to another video. It's Dan here from Sports Cards UK, and in today's video we are going to look at how to store sports cards. So for those of you, I get this question quite a lot, for those of you who haven't yet dived deep into the sports cards hobby, you're picking up a couple of cards but you don't know what's the best way to store them. So this video hopefully is going to be for you. So without further ado, let's jump straight into the video. Okay, so I'm going to talk about a few different methods of storing cards, the ones that I like to use and the ones I think probably are most common. There are several different ways that you can store cards, but there is really a preferred method, I would say, by most collectors and investors. So let's start off with arguably one of the most important pieces of equipment, I guess that you could say, that you need. And it's this. This is called a penny sleeve. Now, a penny sleeve would simply go over a card. Very, very nice and simple. It would slot over the top of the card and it would keep dust. It would keep the card protected. So it's not going to keep dust off the card, and it's going to keep the card protected. Putting in a penny sleeve is so important, and it's so cheap. I mean, you get a pack of these. Ultra Pro are the brand that I like to use, but there's many different ones out there. I wouldn't say there's a brand, particularly one brand's better than another. Ultra Pro is just the standard one that I like to use. And they're so inexpensive, there's no excuse as to why you shouldn't use a card sleeve on your card. Now, once you put your card into a card sleeve, what I would then recommend using is a piece of plastic that looks like this called a top loader. Now, top loaders can come in many shapes, sizes. I would just go for the standard size. You can get fancy ones with rookie card written on the top of them in white or gold or whichever color, and you can get several different colored top loaders. I would just go with the standard ones and buy the cheapest ones you can. Is there any difference between premium top loaders and normal top loaders? In my opinion, no. I just think it's a waste of money. I think just stick with the ones that are cheap but do have good reviews, and go with those. Try not to spend, and I did have a link in my description to top loaders that you could buy on Amazon, and I actually had to remove that link because the top loaders were about £20 for a pack of 10 or something stupid. So there is a bit of a top loader shortage at the moment, which is very frustrating, but hopefully lots of companies will be manufacturing top loaders very soon and doing it at a cheap price. So if any of you know where to pick up top loaders cheap, you're welcome to put it down in the comments. I don't mind if you promote other brands or something if they're sensible. I was quite lucky recently in that I picked up a load of top loaders from Graded Gem. So I picked up about 250 or something for a tenner, which was stupidly cheap. That's the cheapest you'll ever find top loaders. But that's the way I would store your cards. I would put them in a sleeve, and then I would put them in a top loader. Now, another method that you've got that some people do like to prefer is to put it into a card saver. Now, a card saver is mostly used for grading. If you're sending your cards for PSA, what they'd look for is your card to be in a penny sleeve and then be in one of these. Now, the reason being is when you turn a top loader upside down, the card could potentially fall out. When you kind of put it between these two bits of plastic here that are quite tight, if you turn it upside down, it's not going to fall out. So a card in a kind of a sort of a what are we calling these? A card in a card saver is going to look like this, and then obviously a card in a top loader will look like this. So this can fall out. It can. I'm holding it up the top so it doesn't, but this one can't. So that tends to be why PSA prefer these. So if you've ever wondered that tends to be the reason why PSA prefer you using prefer you using card savers. Card savers you can get pretty cheap now anywhere, so you shouldn't find it too difficult. There's quite a few companies that are popping up and doing card savers now, which is good to see. Grade Fit are good. They're currently out of stock, so if anyone can recommend any other card savers, I've used ones from Toy Cult before and they were quite good. But yeah, you should be able to find those pretty cheap now. So we've looked at how to store a card in a top loader, including a penny sleeve and including potentially a card saver, either as your preferred method or when you're sending cards off for grading. Now, another option, which is kind of a premium option, is if you've got a nice card that you want to display, you might want to use something like this, which is called a OneTouch. So it's got a kind of a magnetic thing on the top here, and you would take, I don't think a card actually fits if you include a penny sleeve in this, so I think you just put in the card raw, or I have anyway. So what we can do is we can pry it from the top, and you would put the card in, add in the two little bits at the bottom, and then there's a magnetic bit up at the top here that will just snap straight on. So as soon as I line up the bottom here, I just let go and it just snaps on, and that's not going anywhere now, that's magnetic. So OneTouch is a good way to store your cards, but they're obviously a lot more expensive than buying standard top loaders and card sleeves and whichever, but this is a good way to go if you've got premium cards or autos. I like to store my autos in these and display them. So we've got our cards in card sleeves, we've got our cards in top loaders or card savers. What are we going to do with them now? Are we just going to pile them up somewhere? No, that's not what you want to do. So what I like to use is these, and these are just really cheap cardboard boxes. I've seen people make their own ones of these. I think Steve at the Football Stop's done his own kind of handiwork and made his own ones, which is absolutely fine. But what these are, and it's very, very nice and simple, it's just storage for loose cards like this. And they come in all shapes and sizes. And I've got these particular cardboard ones off Chaos Cards, but I think you can get them on Amazon as well. You've got much bigger ones that look like this. And you can see I've stored a number of cards in here, and you can separate them into different sections. You can add in bits to break up different cards. So if you want to split them up, if you want to add them into groups, you can do that. You can get bigger ones of these, which you can see this has got 2 slots. You can get ones that have got 4, and so on. And for example, here's just one with just the one. So these are all baseball cards, and I've just whacked them all in here. And then what I like to do is I'll just write baseball on the front, and that way I know that's where I keep my baseball cards. So that's what I like to do, and they're just pretty simple cardboard boxes that you can store your cards in. Now this is something that I've taken out of storage, so I do keep the more expensive cards in storage, and I would use something like this. So this is, and I've upgraded to one of these recently. It just keeps the cards, I can keep more cards in storage as possible if I just build up multiple ones of these. So this is one of the ones that I have, and this is a Pelly case. So this is a Pelly 1120 case by Pelly Products. So you can buy these directly from the website. And you've got this pressure gauge at the front here, which will keep the moisture in basically, or it keeps the temperature at the same level when you store cards in here. Because what can happen, and this has happened to people before, is the change in moisture or the change in temperature in a room where you keep graded cards can actually create bubbles within the graded cards. So you can have little bubbles come up within the PSA cases or the SGC cases, or wherever your cards, BGS, and they'll have little air bubbles in them, which is really what you don't want. Moisture can then get in and can actually damage or ruin the card. So I use something like this, which is going to keep the temperature at the same level. And then it's got all the foam in there, and I can store several different cards in here. So I've got sort of a series of several different cards that I would just store in here. All of these are kind of graded cards, so they're all sort of Jason Tatum's and Michael Jordan's and old Pokemon cards. And I would keep these expensive ones obviously in here, and then obviously not store them at my house, but store them in storage. So if you have maybe a slightly more expensive collection and you want to keep those locked away, secure, then yeah, I would recommend using one of these, and then obviously keeping your cards in storage, locked up and safe. And that's at the top end. Obviously, once you kind of get into the hobby and you start to pick up more expensive cards and you start to do the investing side of as well, then you can look to do that. But initially, these cardboard boxes have never let me down, and they're all under £10. They're all really cheap and easy to assemble. So they'd be the ones that I recommend. So that's quite simple. A nice little video there on how to store your cards. If you did find this useful, obviously please do drop a like on the video. Make sure you're subscribed if you're not already, for more sports cards content. And if you do have any questions in terms of storing cards or just any general questions, do drop them down in the comments and I'll be happy to help. And hopefully I'll see you on the next video. Thanks very much.